I had a purpose before everybody had an opinion.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out.
You want Philly Philly?
Chase Utley, you are the man.
You come out backyard and you try to start something, you always get your butt kicked.
The prayers have been answered.
How about those Eagles, baby?
And Rio Muto can run for days.
Can you feel what's about to happen on this field, man?
A perfect game. Roy Halladay has thrown the second perfect game in Philadelphia Phillies history.
All right, we are back here today with another Philly Talk episode. Football is back. The NFL is back. I've always let it be known, football, my favorite sport. You know, I love baseball, love the playoff atmosphere, especially. You know, been getting into other sports as well, but football, always my favorite. So when the NFL comes around, I'm always excited. Especially because, you know, since it's only one game a week, it's much easier to talk about. I've always said this when it comes to, you know, baseball. It's kind of hard when there's so many games that you don't know really what's a good sort of period of time. Like, it's kind of hard to do weekly. It's kind of hard to do it at times, especially because, you know, because of how long the season is. You get to a sort of point where you ask yourself, like, what more can I say on this team? Like, you saw it many times in various Philly Talk episodes where I was like, man, it just feels like I'm repeating myself, you know. But football, one of the things I like about it is because of the lesser amount of games, every game really matters, you know. One loss can really come back to bite you that you thought was so inconsequential, you know. Real good stuff. But kind of going back to that format that Philly Talk originally has, you know, basically splitting things a bit. But of course, like every time when the NFL comes back, gotta start off with a little recap, just some little things happening around the league. Colts versus Texans, what a crazy game that was. Especially the catch that Houston had to close out the game, that was just amazing. Anthony Richardson, hoping he can stay healthy, because I remember watching him, you know, the few games last year, and I was like, man, you know, this guy's going to be good, but his play is kind of concerning. Well, this game, you know, he was doing so well, man. The arm on him, airing that ball out, was insane. Real great game to start off the year. That was like one of the best games. Stafford and Kupp turned it back, you know, for the Rams. They turned back that clock, but still wasn't enough to beat the Lions, but they went pretty crazy. What's his name? Is it Jameson Williams? I have him on my fantasy. He went crazy, and of course I had him on my bench that week, or this week, I mean. Really upsetting that I had him on my bench. I totally forgot to move him into the starting lineup. Looking at the Bucks, Baker Mayfield really is proving that it was just the whole playing through the injury that was the issue with him. Like, I remember watching, I was like, man, why is he playing through his injury? He should just sit down, you know, rest up, you know, and then eventually that's what led to the Browns parting ways with him. But look what happened. Look at this man. This man's going insane. All like I said, all the Browns just had to do was trust in him to come back healthy, you know, and that team could look a lot better right now than what they have. Like, it's pretty insane. The Bengals starting out slow once again and losing to the Pats. Pretty bad loss. At this point, it's expected, but it's just like really weird to really see them just start off this slow every single time. The Bears win a game without scoring a single offensive touchdown. I don't know what Will Levis was thinking on that one pick. I mean, it's become a meme now. He literally fell to his knees in the middle of the play in shock. I don't know what type of playmaking that was. I don't know how you justify even throwing the ball out at that point. Pretty crazy stuff. First game of the season, it's the Ravens. They lose by a literal toe. Fun matchup, but just like we're gonna talk about with like the Eagles-Packers game, can we chill on the flags? It was the first 2 games of the season, and the flags were going insane. I was like, can we chill out a bit here? Insane amount of flags, and I was just like, man, what is going on here? Like, I was just upset seeing all those flags. But overall, first fun week for the NFL being back. Saw a lot of interesting matchups. I already lost my week 1 matchup because my friend still had 2 players to play. I thought I could maybe hold on, but he had Debo, and then CMC went down, so he had his backup running back to fill in for him. But I think I got a pretty good team this year. I do need to make a couple adjustments. I already put in a couple waiver wires for some guys like Likely and oh gosh, what's the one the Chargers running back? I forget who it is. Dobbins. There we go. But hey, we're gonna get into it later. But I took Saquon with my first pick, and everyone was calling it a reach. We'll talk about it later. But before we get into the Eagles-Packers game, I owe it to my baseball fans to talk about the Phillies real quick, especially because this is Philly talk. You know, got to talk about both. Basically been a month since I last talked about that team. That video was very much like, what the heck is going on with this team? Panic, not necessarily panic button, but like just like, what is going on? What can they do to get better? And since then, they went on to win the series against the Nationals, beat up on the Royals, won an amazing series against the Astros with the walk-off in the first game. They won another amazing series against the Braves that saw another walk-off from Nick Castellanos, I believe. Did he have 2 walk-offs? It's actually crazy to think. I looked this up before, but like saying it out loud now, it just feels like crazy to think that like he helped us win 2 games. Nick has been incredibly clutch for us. One of our more solid hitters, which is crazy to say because of how much he was slumping, you know, but he literally helped us win this game. And I was like, my goodness, you know, like from going as like one of the the Astros one was from Bryce Harper. That's right, he singled to right field. And then the Braves one was from Nick Castellanos, where the bases look, I can't remember. Let's see. Trey was on first. It was a single. Yeah, okay. Sorry, just want to double check. But yeah, Harper walked off the Astros. Nick walked off the Braves, and after that, you know, I mean, that series against the Braves was pretty good. We won 3-1. So many people were expecting us to, you know, have given up the division to them. I forgot there was someone on, like, I think it was Twitter that was like, come Labor Day, the Eagles will have like given up the division, and then we beat the Braves and we're up 7 on them. Also, it was the start of November, the start of September, which meant 2 extra roster spots opened up. Cody Clemens came up. Super glad to see him get a shot with this team. It always sucks that like he's always there to fill in, but they can never find a permanent spot. We'll get into that later about him. But Carlos Estevez went Super Saiyan. That man went crazy. He got a save in 1 game, and then in that walk-off game, he went 2 innings and extras, holding the Ghost Runner twice. Really great performance from him. A lot of people don't have a lot of faith in him because of the whole, you know, he gives up hard contact. But, you know, I'm really buying into this guy, you know. I don't know fully yet if I want him as the closer, because I don't know if my heart can handle that come postseason time, but he's been really good. They followed it up by winning both games against Toronto and splitting the Miami series. The Toronto games were insane, especially that comeback. That was insane. Kyle Schwarber literally had 3 home runs that game. It was insane. Still a bit of a roller coaster, but it's been a damn fun one at the least, you know. This team has really started to shape itself. You look at that bullpen, Strahm, Kerkering, Hoffman, Ruiz, and Estevez have all been amazing out of it. Banks as well has been pretty good, and ever since returning to the team, Jose Alvarado's kind of gotten back into his groove. You look at his last 5 appearances, 0 earned runs, only 2 walks, 6 Ks. You know, a lot of those appearances did come in blowouts, but, you know, it's a good way to get him going and get him back in that groove, and he's been doing pretty well since returning to this team. You look at that rotation, they've been solid. Wheeler is Wheeler. That Atlanta game was great, and he continues to try and push himself forward in that Cy Young race. I don't know if he gets it, but he isn't giving up, you know. Nola has been good as well. He didn't have the best start recently, though, but, you know, Nola's always going to be Nola, be solid. Give you 6-7 quality innings, give you a quality start. Rangers getting back into his groove after the injury. Sanchez, where do I begin, man? Complete game against the Nationals. Solid but not great performances in Atlanta, and then the 7 good innings in Toronto. You know, he's been doing really good. As I was telling my dad, he's really giving Nola and Ranger a fight for that 2 spot come playoff time. Obviously, they're more than likely going to go with Nola and Ranger above them because of their proven track record come postseason time. But, you know, he's giving them a fight to be like, hey, trust me more come playoff time, you know. And that's one thing I'm hoping for Ranger and Sanchez is that, you know, they get a longer leash than about 4 innings and like 1-2 times through the lineup, you know. Only issue, of course, with our rotation is the 5th start. You know, they called up Tyler Phillips, he gets rocked. They call up Seth Johnson, he gets rocked. It's just like no matter what we put out there, it's like it's just a guaranteed loss, you know. And you know that shouldn't be an issue come playoff time, but it just kind of sucks that every 5th start is like scheduled loss for us, man. Offensively, this team is still very confusing. We'll see the big stars go zeros across the boards, and then next thing you know, like I said, Kyle Schwarber's hitting 3 home runs in a game and going like 5 for 6. We see them come back against Toronto and put up 16 on Miami, only to get blown up the next game. Nick, like I said, he's been really great. And then getting back to the point I was going to make earlier, Weston Wilson and Cody Clemens, they are fighting for those playoff rosters, man. They are fighting for those playoff spots, really proving themselves to be valuable pieces off that bench, especially if they need a pinch hit or there's someone to fill in sometimes at a position. I desperately need them on it. I need both of them. I really need to look more properly at you know, this team and really see like what I think the playoff roster is going to be. I will say I hope Taijuan is not on that playoff roster come playoff time. I just don't see the need for a guy to take a roster spot when he's just going to be on that bench pretty much doing nothing. But you know, looking ahead, we got the Rays for 2 more games. We just won yesterday. Walk off from Cody Clemens. The kid rakes. Come on now, get that man on that playoff roster. Him and Weston Wilson, 2 amazing guys. And then we got 7 games against the Mets that are very important for the standings. Then you also got games against the Brewers, Cubs, and Nationals to close the season. I want these boys to just keep fighting, man, and bring us another Red October. They've been doing really great ever since that video. You know, they've turned it around in the month, and I'm very surprised with what they've been doing. I know we're only 10 games into September, but it's looking a lot better than previous Septembers that we've gotten out of this team. Like I said, I just want them to keep fighting. They're looking good, and I want another Red October. And hopefully that Red October comes with a 1st seed, you know. I know a lot of people might not want the 1st seed, but to me, I don't want to make the same excuses as teams as last year. I want you guys to go out there, get that 1st seed, and then come out hot immediately and prove that like the rest isn't an issue, you know. But anyways, moving forward, Eagles versus Packers. What a game this was. I mean, seriously, just a fun back and forth, but it also took years off my life because of how stressful it was. First things first, raise your hand if you scored a touchdown this week. The Giants don't raise their hands, while Saquon Barkley raises both his hands and proceeds to grow a 3rd hand to raise. What a phenomenal debut for Saquon Barkley. It started off terrible. His first rush, he literally slips on that field and, you know, goes for a loss. But what a dang performance from Saquon Barkley. What else is there to say? My glorious GOAT, man. I used to dream of times like this. 3 touchdowns in his debut. I nearly shed tears seeing Saquon play behind a competent O-line that genuinely gave him time to work and maneuver around. I am just so excited for his future with this team, man. I just hope the best, especially health-wise. But behind this O-line, man, he's going to be scary. The fact that he was contributing both in the pass and rushing game was amazing. Jalen Hurts, you know, left a lot to be desired. You know, that Saquon passing touchdown, thing of beauty. Got that ball right in there, was amazing. AJ took it to the house as well for, you know, Hurts' 2nd touchdown. That was crazy, just seeing the speed that he did. I think they said that was his top speed since his like rookie season, you know, so it's crazy to see that he still has that speed. However, those 2 picks and the bad fumble really bring them down a notch. You know, I know if you really look at the footage, the AJ Brown interception in the end zone, it doesn't necessarily look like it's Jalen's fault, but you know, as far as like the decision making, I'm not too sure that was the best choice. The first pick was absolutely terrible, and then the fumble, like I said, it brings him down a notch. We saw after the fact he was in Jurgens' face about it, but like my good fellow on YouTube, C4, another Eagles fan that I really watch and like a lot of his analysis of these games, like he said, that is more so on Sirianni and like the team as a whole, in the sense of they didn't give any preseason playing time for Jalen. You know, you knew there would be an adjusting period going from Jason Kelce to Cam Jurgens, and you didn't properly prepare for it. You know, you kind of just threw both men into the wild and told them to just work it out in the middle of a game, basically. You know, and I will say they got better with it, even though there was another fumble that nearly could have gone wrong, but you know, they recovered it. But again, it was like Jalen's getting up in Jurgens' face. There's this whole issue of, you know, having to transition from a center like Jason Kelce. That's what the preseason's for. You don't even need to give him a full game in the preseason. You could have just given him a drive, could have given him a quarter, you know, to really get adjusted with Jurgens, to really get familiar with Jurgens in an actual sort of game setting and not just practice, you know. It's like, I think that's more on the team for not really getting these two properly prepared, you know. But I will say, you know, the biggest highlight for Jalen in this game was that final drive. I mean, they killed what was it, 8 minutes almost? It was a near 8-minute drive that they worked to kill the game, and they would have sealed that game with a touchdown again had that fumble not happened and forced them to settle with a field goal. You know, they would have killed that game off with a touchdown there. Absolute masterclass of a drive. Like I said, 8 minutes of just killing that clock down to only give the Packers like 30 seconds left in the game to do work with. Looking at the rest of the team, AJ and Smithy, they had a fun game. AJ was going back and forth with Jair. That was real fun. Smithy was making some clutch catches, and I loved to see all that movement, that pre-snap movement, that movement over the middle, no wide receiver screens, you know. I really loved the improvement of the play calling. Defense, a lot of bright spots, but also needs some improvement, you know. Nakobe Dean's name came up a couple of times. We heard his name throughout the night. TFL, pass defense, 3 solo tackles. Zach Bond had the game of his life, getting 2 sacks, 11 solo tackles, and a TFL. Quinyon Mitchell had a fun start, getting some good pass defenses in there, getting in the faces of players. Reed Blankenship had a great game as well and had an interception at a pivotal moment. I think the defensive line was probably the most disappointing factor of the night, just not enough pressure out of them at times. Jalen Carter looked pretty great, but I don't know, they weren't getting as much pressure as you would think. But overall, a fun first week in the NFL. The potential of this team was shown. They're good, but they have another level to be unlocked, and you know, I need them to get to that point. Overall, I think a lot of it is like a lot of other teams just trying to shake off that rust in the first week, you know. But we start off the season right, get a W, heading back home for a primetime game against Atlanta. Like I said, it's Kirk in primetime, so I'm expecting a win. I hope to see this team, though, improve upon their mistakes and really start to become more fluid and really come into their own, you know, find their identity as an offense, find their identity as a defense. And again, a lot of key players that you just hope to maximize their potential and get the absolute most out of them. But fun first week, really happy with this team and really optimistic about the rest of this season.